We start off today at the Lamborghini house where there's a lot of cool cars on display, including the all-new, just revealed Temerario, the replacement for the Huracan, and there's one that's a different spec from the one at the Quail, so let's go check it out. The matte blue one that debuted at the Quail was back there, but take a look at this green one, and it features the new lightweight track package, the okay, so I'm trying to pronounce the lightweight track package. It's the Alleggerita. Alleggerita. That's close enough. Thank you very much.
No problem. You're welcome.
So this car here has differences from the matte blue one we saw at the Quail. Immediately you notice carbon fiber wheels. It's 55 pounds lighter, and it's available at launch as a package for the new Temerario. So carbon front splitter here, the wheels, the side skirts, and also lightweight carbon on the engine cover back here. There's a lot of carbon also with the diffuser. And on the inside, there's also some lightweighting measures. You take a look at that door panel. That is all carbon fiber. It's got the carbon race seats in it too. So this package here is a bit lighter than the regular version. All right, so the engine back here is a 4-liter flat plane crank twin turbo V8 that revs to 10,000 RPM, which I believe is the highest revving production V8 ever. It beats my Z06 by quite a margin. It beats a 918 Spider, which revved to 9,150 RPM, so 10,000 RPM. Twin turbo V8. On its own, the engine makes 789 horsepower, but this is now hybridized now. You have 2 electric motors up front and 1 package between the transmission and the engine, so 3 electric motors. It can drive in all electric front-wheel drive modes, silent. There's so many different drive modes now. A couple other facts. So it has an 8-speed dual clutch transmission now that weighs less and shifts faster than the 7-speed from the Huracan. We have front motors. So those can allow driving in electric mode, but also do torque vectoring, and they draw power from a 3.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack that's in the center tunnel. There is a plug-in charger, so this is a plug-in hybrid. Notice a port on either side, one for gas, one for plugging it in. We can also regen from the brakes and also charge from the engine, so it's a full hybrid in that way. The specs are pretty impressive. 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds, up to a top speed of 213 miles an hour. So those numbers are quite ridiculous because it has a combined power output of over 900 horsepower. Yeah, the baby Lamborghini has properly grown up. Almost 900 horsepower. The Revuelto is not that much more power actually than this, and the V8 on its own, right? 789 horsepower. That beats out what the Aventador was making too. So this thing has really increased the performance envelope for the baby Lambo. Now let's take a look at the styling. So we have really thin, aggressive headlights there, but I think one of the coolest parts is the arrow here. So you have a vent there. A lot of this is designed for brake cooling. It channels the air over top of the car, and I really like these floating hexagon DRLs. The hexagon is obviously a huge part of all the Lamborghini styling across various models, and you see that design element up front and also echoed in the back with the taillights back here, the exhaust, and it's so aggressive back here. The cutout behind the rear wheels on the bumper is so aggressive. Big diffuser channeling air, and the center exit exhaust. Everything back here on this spec is carbon fiber. And it's cool that the engine compartment is open, just like in a Revuelto. It doesn't have a full cover there. And again, more of those tiny little hexagons everywhere. Flat plane crank, they have the firing order on the back, the engine plaque, as is common with the Lamborghinis. 10,000 RPM is going to be absolutely crazy to feel. All right, let's hop inside the new Lamborghini Temerario. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right either. What's the appropriate Italian way to pronounce the name?
Temerario.
There we go, what he said. And there's a plaque back there that says the Alleggerita. This is the lightweight package. All right, first time sitting in the new Lamborghini, the Sonos Faber sound system here. You see all carbon fiber along this door panel for the lightweight track package. The window switches are here on the door. They're no longer in the middle. And we have 3 screens. We have the center infotainment screen. We have a passenger display screen here. And we have the full digital cluster in the middle. So it's very similar to the Revuelto on the inside. So we have more headroom and legroom. 1.5 inches more headroom, 1.8 inches more legroom. And I genuinely feel it. in the Huracan, right? I fit, but there's a reason I bought an R8 because I fit more comfortably. I'm like 6'2", 6'3", and in a Huracan, usually they lean all the way back and like you can never see traffic lights or anything. It's not the most spacious and comfortable, and the R8 definitely was a little more usable. This car, they've made vast improvements just like with the Revuelto. So if you're well over 6 feet tall, you can drive this car. Like it just feels much more spacious compared to the outgoing Huracan. There's even like a big luggage shelf behind my seat. I've got a lot more headroom. This is a big improvement. You've got the strap for the door handle there with more carbon on it. It just feels typical Lamborghini Qs in here, ultra modernized. This is such an aggressive like outcropping for air vents. It's all trimmed in Alcantara. The huge carbon fiber paddle shifters here on the steering wheel. And you'll see a lot of buttons, a lot of buttons. So EV, the different drive mode ones. You got front lift here. This is, I think, drift control. It does have a drift mode of the different drive modes. Wow, that's a lot. I've not driven a Revuelto. I've sat in them when I first got to see the reveal. This is very familiar to the Revuelto, but a lot of space. Obviously, amazing materials and carbon fiber. You still have the start-stop button with the flip-up cover too. And it's so cool. There's like these little like buttresses around the various toggles. Fuel door over there. Similar transmission selector. And just more space. Look how much space is behind that. So you keep sliding it backwards. The Sonos Faber sound system and a little window in back you can see straight through. You don't see like the top of the engine because it's got these like buttresses on either side there too where it drops down. Wow. This is very, very cool to get to be inside the new Lamborghini Temerario. So something else interesting to note is the new car is actually 5 inches longer than the Huracan, and I noticed some other cool little details. You see those little 3-pointed key star thing? That's the same way you open the engine cover in the Cofango on the STO. So this whole thing must lift off or something. That's how you unlock it, just like on the STO. Lot of carbon fiber on this spec here. We have like the painted stripe livery, really cool launch spec. I believe this is called Verde Mercurius is the name of this one. The sun is out now. Let's take a look at that paint. We've got the carbon mirrors with the red stripe and then that metallic flake. Lamborghinis just look good in bright Skittles colors. It's a necessary requirement if you're ordering a supercar like this. It has to look like a Skittle. We've got a race car here too, the SC63, the LMDH car, in a typical Lamborghini lime green Verde, maybe Verde Mantis shade. These things look so cool on the track, and I love seeing the speed differential between these and the regular GT class cars. We also have a matching Roger DeWee watch right here. See the lime green accents. That's probably very, very expensive. Probably more than my car. And then we have some race cars here, the Huracan ones. It'll be cool to see the Temerario-based Super Trofeo cars and so forth. And then here is that matte blue one that we saw earlier at Quail. This is also really cool. We have the new engine for the Temerario, the 4-liter flat plane crank twin turbo V8. You see it's a hot V. The turbos sit there in the valley. 10,000 RPM redline is going to be wild and has the integrated third electric motor that also operates as the starter generator. This is going to be a properly special engine, and to think, this is just the beginning, right? They'll probably have higher output versions to come. 789 horsepower just from the 4-liter twin turbo V8. We did hear it start up yesterday, cold start and a couple revs. I'm excited to hear this thing fully unrestricted, screaming to 10,000 RPM. So in addition to the cars, this house is absolutely unbelievable. I looked it up on Zillow, and it's estimated at $22 million, which is a staggering amount of money, but it's on Pebble Beach. And let me show you guys what the view is like. Huge backyard patio space here, and then it is just looking out over Pebble Beach at the ocean. There's so many just like little seating areas and random other buildings. This place is just a maze. Oh my gosh, it's a maze and it's also amazing. And yep, there is the Pebble Beach Golf Course, the ocean. The Concours d'Elegance will be happening here on Sunday, and the house is literally just right here. The plug-in hybrid life, we've got the new Lambo plugged in here on a charger. So I think most of the lineup is essentially hybridized now. I mean, while we're here in this Revuelto, we really should hop inside this and compare it with the Temerario. The doors angle outwards a little bit more, so it makes it actually a lot easier to get into the Revuelto. And you see this interior is very, very similar to the Temerario, or more specifically, the Temerario is pretty much the same as Revuelto. You have the passenger screen, infotainment screen here in the middle, the digital cluster, the steering wheel has the same buttons and controls. And then the center cluster is also very, very similar. There's also a lot more space in here than compared to the Aventador, so Lamborghini is making their cars more friendly for tall people. Yay, rejoice. Because the doors angle so much more outwards instead of just straight upwards, it makes the opening a lot wider and just easier to get in and out without trying to hit your head or something. So that is an improvement, and it still looks pretty awesome with the doors that go up. They're not quite like McLaren butterfly doors. They're still essentially Lamborghini scissor doors, but they angle outward a little bit more. All right, leaving the Lamborghini house, we're stuck in some traffic in the shuttle to go back to the parking lot because the Casa Ferrari display of all their cars is currently rolling in right now. The procession of very, very rare, very high-end Ferraris. There's a Daytona SP3, yep. You can see just barely the top 1/10 of a Daytona SP3 driving in. Honestly, this makes a Valkyrie look almost tame out back. V12, what's the name? 12 cylinders. That's so cool. It's the Brazil flag painted on the wing. And then there's some sort of Volkswagen there in the middle.